Good morning, everyone. The Medical Device Regulatory Convergence Project, co-led by USAID, ANSI, and ADVAMed through the Inter-American Coalition for Regulatory Convergence in the Medical Device Technology sector, along with the United States Food and Drug Administration, welcome you to the third and last part of this series of 3 webinar sessions on ISO 13485 and Medical Device Single Audit Program Outcomes Utilization for Regulatory Purposes. We will get started reminding all participants that this session is being recorded for future posting on the Coalition's website. Simultaneous translation is available, so you may listen to the presenters in English, Portuguese, and Spanish by selecting your preferred language at the icon located at the bottom of your screen. We would appreciate all the speakers to open your cameras both during your presentation and at the Q&A sessions in order to facilitate the work of the interpreters. The presentations and materials can also be accessed in your preferred language through the link that was emailed on Monday to all registered participants. As for our previous sessions, we're very pleased to have a large number of attendees, like 20 countries, 11 national regulatory authorities, and over 140 private sector entities. This size of an audience makes it challenging to open microphones to ask questions. Therefore, we would appreciate your posting them at the Q&A section located at the bottom of your screen. May the session's coordinators voice them to the presenters. Prior to closing the session today, we could be very appreciative on getting your kind feedback on this series and on your interest on future events. We will gather them via a live poll. We also invite you to keep connected and provide additional feedback via email. Without further ado, now let me introduce Catherine Serrano. Catherine Katie is the Director for FDA's Latin America office. Katie has over 15 years of experience in the medical device field, with the last 9 years spent in FDA's Office of In Vitro Diagnostics and Radiological Health in the Center for Device and Radiological Health. At the FDA, Katie has worked in a variety of technical, policy, leadership, and management positions, including joining the agency as part of the inaugural class of Commissioner's Fellows in 2008, working as a scientific reviewer and serving as the Diabetes Diagnostic Devices Branch Chief and the Deputy Director of FDA's Division of Chemistry and Toxicology Devices. She also served as the technical and policy lead for the agency's efforts related to laboratory-developed tests. Ms. Serrano received a Bachelor of Science degree in Biomedical Engineering and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Spanish from the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. Before working at the Food and Drug Administration, Ms. Serrano held positions as a regulatory affairs professional at Boston Scientific Corporation and as a biomedical engineer at the United States National Institute of Health, supporting new programs focused on cutting-edge technologies in the field of bioengineering. Katie, thank you very much for joining us today, and now passing it to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Sandra. And I really want to thank all of the speakers and the participants that have been so active in this webinar series. We have been so thrilled to see such a large participation from all of you throughout this entire series, and we're thrilled that, that we're at the end of the series with the third webinar this week. As Sandra mentioned, we are really interested in your feedback about this webinar series and what other kinds of information you would like to see us contribute in moving forward. But for the session today, well, the intent is really to build on some of the information that's been shared in the first 2 sessions. And, you know, I think really one of the key points is that there are a lot of ways for regulatory authorities to leverage the MDSAP audits. And that that's why it's so rich that so many regulatory authorities are on this call today to participate, to listen. And we really encourage you to ask questions about this process and about how it might be implemented so that we can have that rich discussion among all of our agencies and all of the participants on this call. So I guess without further ado, I will pass it on to the speakers and to the rest of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. So to start with our presentations, our first speaker is Thiago Cunha. He's graduated in pharmacy and biochemistry by the Universidade Federal de Ouro Preto. Mr. Cunha has a specialization in health surveillance by Fundação Osvaldo Cruz and a master's degree in material science and engineering by the Universidade Federal de Campina Grande. He has been health surveillance specialist at Anvisa since 2007 and an MDSAP coordinator at this agency since 2018. Mr. Cunha is going to present on how Anvisa uses the MDSAP documents and audits. Tiago, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Buenos dias a todos. Bom dia. Vocês estão conseguindo ver a apresentação? Can you see my screen?
Sim.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I think we're good now. I apologize for that. Okay, so again, my name is Tiago. I have been working at Anvisa since 2007, and today I want to show you how Brazil and Anvisa uses the MDSAP program. We are one of the founder members, and we've been using MDSAP reports since 2016, since the pilot program. So I would like to present to you a little bit of what we've done so far. First of all, this is the main 3 points for Anvisa regulatory program. The initial part is the good manufacturing practices. Then we have the register, and then we have the post-market surveillance. So MDSAP is used for providing the good manufacturing practices certifications, which is the beginning of the regulation of medical devices in Brazil. So Anvisa is structured in a manner that we have different officers for that. So MDSAP is located among the office that is responsible for issuing the certificates of medical devices in Brazil. Today, we have 2 main laws that deal with medical devices. First one is RDC 2013. It approves the technical requirements of good manufacturing practices for medical devices and IVD products. This resolution has already been presented by Tiberio on our first webinar, and it has a lot of similar points with ISO 13485, and the structure is a little bit different. So we use this resolution. It's harmonized in South America because it's not so easy to change that resolution. We also have RDC 183 from 2017. And that one deals with administrative procedures for granting the certification of good manufacturing practices for medical devices manufacturers. This RDC also talks about using the MDSAP reports for granting the certification of good manufacturing practices. So we have 2 standards. One deals with the technical requirements and the other one deals with administrative procedures. In Brazil, we issue, it's mandatory to issue the GMP certificate in some situations. The first one are for manufacturers that produce the final product of the medical device. Also for manufacturers that deal with the final release and at least one production stage have to have a GMP certificate.
Softwares como dispositivos médicos. Essas três situações a gente emite certificados.
And for SAMD, these are the mandatory situations.
Eles são mandatórios para os produtos.
These certificates are mandatory for devices of risk class 3 and 4 according to our Brazilian classification. Our classification ranges from 1 to 4. It's very similar to other countries that are part of the MDSAP program. And it is mandatory that the companies that produce products of risk class 3 and 4 have to have the certificate issued by Anvisa. The GMP certificate in Brazil can be issued in a range of manners. The first one, the fast track, is the analysis of MDSAP reports. And I will dive into more detail further on. It is also possible to issue a GMP certificate obtaining confidential information and through agreements with other regulatory organizations. This has only been going on with Mercosur agency. So Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, we have this exchange of information, and then we issue a GMP certificate for companies located in these countries. The next way to issue is through audit reports issued by IMDRF countries. And in that way, we conduct risk analysis, and then we decide to issue a certificate or schedule an Anvisa inspection. The last way we can do that is through an inspection, both for national and international companies that have not been granted a certificate in any other of the previous forms. Inspections are suspended since March last year. We will probably resume the domestic inspections up from next month, considering the rollout of vaccines in Brazil. But international inspections are not in our schedule yet. So we have not conducted any inspections since March last year, only a few inspections that were not related to the pandemic. So here is the certification flow conducted by Anvisa. So the GMP certificate must be requested by an importer or representative located in the Brazilian territory. That might be a certification of a manufacturer that it's both national or international. Once the request is received, Anvisa might direct it to different coordinations, the COPS, the audit coordination for health products, and the inspection of health products coordination. So when the health manufacturer is part of the MDSAP program, then redirect the request to COPS, and the analysis is based on the MDSAP report. And if the report has all the requirements, then the GMP certificate is issued. This is the quickest certification, GMP certification in Brazil today.
If the manufacturer is not part of MDSAP, this request will be directed to the CPROD, which is the the inspection and of products, of health products. And at CPROD, we have a analysis of all the reports available for this manufacturer. So we have reports from other agencies, other regulatory agencies, inspections, reports, in case that Anvisa had reported this manufacturer in the past, and also a risk analysis in which we'll decide if we can issue a certificate or if we can schedule a Anvisa inspection. So we have different ways to deal with requests of GMPs, depending on the fact that the manufacturer is part of MDSAP or is not part of MDSAP. In case of manufacturers that are part of MDSAP, the Anvisa report, Anvisa analyzes the report of an MDSAP report, and this analysis is conducted by an Anvisa specialist. They analyze the reports and check with all the MDSAP points were checked. So we analyze one report and check with all the requests, the requirements for the Brazilian market are complied. It can be conducted both for initial certification or recertification. So if a manufacturer will start to manufacture a product and has not a previous certificate, or a company that has products and is asking for a recertification. For an initial certification, that means a new company, it's necessary to analyze an audit report from MDSAP. In cases of recertification, companies that have already started and already has a GMP certificate, we can analyze a surveillance report from MDSAP, one that has not all the info from the audit approach. And besides the analysis of the report, we also analyze the NGE, the grading exchange form. It's a document that follows the MDSAP report, and it describes non-compliances that were found during the audit. Both MDSAP and NGE forms are sent to the regulatory agencies that are part of the REPS program. In the REPS system, these reports must be updated so we know the grade of each unit, and non-compliances grade 4 or 5 must be closed. They must be implemented so we can issue the Anvisa certificate, and non-compliance grades 1 to 3 must come with action plans, satisfactory action plans, so we can check if they are complying with the Anvisa requirements using MDSAP program. Another requirement from Anvisa that we use, it's the 5-day notice. It's an alert that regulatory agencies receive, and on 5 days, on a 5-day notice, they have report an NC grade 4, 5, more than 2 NC grade 4, or any situation that can put the health of the public health at risk. So if any of the situations is identified, you have a 5-day notice. When we got 5-day notice at Anvisa, we immediately opened an investigation procedure, and we investigate the fact, carry out a risk evaluation, and we can cancel or suspend the certificate in order to carry out the investigation. So the marketing of the products or the export of the products or import of the products is suspended during the investigation in order to check the best action plan for each case. One question that we always have regarding the issuing of GMP certificate by Anvisa, it regards the NCs raised against other regulatory agency requirements. So we got a MDSAP report, and sometimes it's not in the scope of the US requirement or the Japan or the Canada requirements. And sometimes we find NCs that are linked to requirements from other countries and not Brazil. So they will not impact our certificate in Brazil. Certification in Brazil is focused on the RDC 16/2013, which is the Anvisa regulation for that matter. So this is a summary of the advantages of MDSAP for Anvisa in the last years. We have been working with this program from the very beginning, and we are using the reports since 2017, and we are increasing the use of such audits in our system. So the first advantage to use MDSAP is the resource saving. We had the amount of inspections have decreased. Once we had 300 inspections in 1 year, and this number is decreasing while we are using MDSAP. Another advantage, which is very important to be mentioned, is the standard reporting to using the model N24. So we have a standard in our reporting, and we know where we will find each piece of information within the report. Another advantage is the inclusion of the RDC 16 in the scope of the audit, of the MDSAP audit. This make the issuing of the certificate more easier. And we have these reports straight away from the auditors, not from the manufacturers. And thus we have the authenticity of the reports guaranteed by that. So by doing that, we can assure that they are not bringing any false data. We have the possibility to request additional information from the auditors. So if we have any question or something, you can go straight away and talk to them. And the MDSAP is as a faster way of issuing GMP certificates. And we can issue reports in an easier way. You know, at Anvisa, we have in the past, we took a lot of time to issue certificates. And with MDSAP, we could speed up the process. So it's more reasonable today than in the past. Another advantage is the annual monitoring of manufacturers. We receive reports every year we receive reports from the surveillance audits, and we have a continuous monitoring of manufacturers. And we can follow non-compliances
de acordo
more
com
closely
as informações
and provide
passadas pelos organismos
a plan of action according to the information that we gather.
que pode apresentar o que foi encontrado
And we can check any risk level based on that. So this is another advantage of MDSAP because we can have a fast correlation of the facts and of the findings of the audit.
Eu queria apresentar aqui
I
alguns
would like
dados
to present some data.
a utilização dos
The
relatórios
use of MDSAP reports by Anvisa year by year,
ano a ano.
it's increasing year by year. And when in 2017, when we finished the pilot project, we issued 38 certificates, which was 4.7% of all certificates issued by Anvisa. These are international certificates. In 2018, we had 107 certificates, which is 19.3% of the total certificates. 2019, a year in which the program grew a lot, we issued 374 certificates, MDSAP certificates, 48.7%. And in 2020, we had 544 certificates, representing 49.1% of all certificates issued by Anvisa. So today we can say that half of the certificates issued by Anvisa, international certificates, are issued through MDSAP. In Brazil, they not represent an important figure right now because we have a lot of manufacturers that produce products from with risk class 1 and 2, and the issue of certificates is not mandated, is not compulsory for those risk levels, for those classes, I'm sorry. And there's a lot of products that were not in the MDSAP system for a lot of reasons. So today we have less than 20 manufacturers that are complying with the MDSAP system. And we hope that this number will grow in the coming years. As for on-site international inspections by Anvisa, as I said, one of the advantages of the use of MDSAP is the saving resources aspect, and an on-site international inspection is very expensive. And the number is decreasing year by year.
Deixou de ser projeto piloto e passou a ser.
Since it stopped being a pilot project and being used effectively in Brazil. So in 2017, we had 238 inspections. The following year, we had 110 inspections, and 2019, only 84 inspections. The 2020 figures are not here because the pandemic has had an influence on them.
Isso vem sendo uma vantagem muito grande.
And it has been an advantage to see that with the MDSAP, we can carry out inspections where the risks are. We had a lot of inspections in the past, and today we are saying to manufacturers that we can do inspections where the program identified any risk. I think I could have a very summarized presentation of our program of MDSAP in Brazil. And I would like to say again that the program was very important and had a lot of advantages in Brazil, not only in saving resources, but also in the exchange and sharing of information with other audit and regulatory agencies. So if you have any question, I can answer them right now or throughout the other presentations. Thank you.
Muito obrigada, Tiago. Just two announcements before we continue. First, I would like to ask all the participants to please mute their microphones. And the second one is the questions are going to be addressed at the end of the presentations. So please put them in the Q&A box in the bottom of your screen. Thank you. Can you please, ¿pueden cerrar sus micrófonos, por favor? Por ahí estamos escuchando a alguien. ¿Podrían cerrar sus micrófonos, por favor?
I would like to ask all participants to mute their microphones, please.
Our next speaker is Lieutenant Commander Kenneth Chen. He is a Senior Regulatory Officer in the Medical Device Single Audit Program, Regulatory Inspections and Audits Team, Division of Regulatory Programs 2, Establishment Support of the Center of Devices and Radiological Health. He leads efforts associated with the MDSAP development and implementation with other regulatory authorities and industry. He began with the FDA over 12 years ago as a biomedical engineer for the Office of Compliance, CDRH, specializing in orthopedic devices. Lieutenant Commander Chen received a Bachelor of Science degree in Biomedical Engineering from Rutgers University and a Master of Science degree from Johns Hopkins University. Lieutenant Commander, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for the warm welcome. Can I confirm you could see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So good morning. Thank you again for the warm welcome and inviting me to speak in today's forum. Again, my name is Lieutenant Commander Kenneth Chen, and I'm currently a Senior Regulatory Officer within the MDSAP team in FDA. Today, I'll be discussing how the FDA uses MDSAP and how the program affects the FDA's inspection program. Especially, the FDA uses MDSAP has evolved since its inception, and especially through COVID-19, we've started to leverage a lot of the MDSAP audits in our decision-making and risk determination. So I'll be covering those aspects throughout the slide. So MDSAP is still a voluntary program for the US jurisdiction. When a medical device manufacturer participates in the program, they will be removed from the FDA's routine surveillance work plan, that's annual, from the ORA, that's the Office of Regulatory Affairs. The FDA uses MDSAP audit report as a type of quality system intelligence, and it helps us assess the manufacturer's state of compliance. Most importantly, it's not an exclusive document that we use. We use it along with other pre-market and post-market data in totality to make a risk determination. As such, in the previous slide, my colleague Tiago covered 5-day notice. That's a type of audit report that we look closely when we get those. Along with 5-day notices, there's withdrawal, suspensions, refuse to certify. Those are the 4 types of conditions that we really look close to when we receive those types of documents or signals. But also in the next couple of months, FDA will be increasing our sampling of MDSAP audit reports when it has met several risk factors. And those risk factors include the number of nonconformities and the significance of those nonconformities. And those nonconformities would have to align to the FDA's compliance program guidance manual, 7382.845, inspection of medical device manufacturers. So in that document, it's available online on our website. It lists what we call situation 1 and situation 2, and it defines the seriousness or egregiousness of FDA inspections. With our increased sampling, we are going to leverage what's written in that FDA document and map it with those MDSAP ISO 1345 clauses to increase our sampling of our reports in the next couple of months. While I mentioned manufacturers are exempt from routine inspections, there are other FDA inspections that are not exempt. Manufacturers are not exempted. However, with the COVID-19 travel restrictions, we have leveraged the use of MDSAP audit reports in several areas of our pre-market and post-market activities. In the next couple of slides, I will go over these other types of FDA inspections that you would expect for cause, risk-based work plan, pre-post-market approval inspections, bio-research monitoring, BIMO, compliance follow-up inspections, EPRC, electronic product radiation control, and also inspections from other centers. And we started to leverage some of the MDSAP audits with some of these other types of inspections. While we cannot leverage MDSAP for all of these, we are starting to use some in our decision making, and I'll cover those. MDSAP manufacturers, this is one that they're not exempt from. They're not exempt from a for-cause inspection. Even before and during the pandemic, a for-cause inspection occurs when the FDA receives information from either data analysis, recalls, allegations, signals, or any information we determine has serious public health hazards. These types of inspections have occurred and continue to occur during the pandemic. Again, MDSAP manufacturers are not exempted, and we have not leveraged MDSAP audits to assess these risk factors that I've mentioned earlier. We have a program called the Risk-Based Work Plan Program. It's developed annually, and it focuses on specific device types. This program is developed by collecting and analyzing pre-market and post-market data, such as 510K submissions, the pre-market submissions, recalls, allegations, medical device reports, adverse events, to develop a risk-based work plan inspection assignment. This type of inspection was slowed down due to the travel restrictions, but are resuming this year as we open back up. And these manufacturers are not exempt from risk-based work plan inspections. So when a manufacturer has been identified as manufacturing this targeted device type, you would expect an FDA inspection covering the aspects of this work plan. Pre and post-market inspections, they support our pre-market application approval process. This is another type of inspection that had been slowed down during the pandemic, unless there were novel and complex issues where we deemed it mission critical, where we've conducted inspections during the pandemic. So this is an area where we have leveraged MDSAP audits and audit reports. While MDSAP was not used exclusively to waive this type of inspection, MDSAP was used along with the firm's regulatory and compliance history to assess their state of compliance and their ability to meet FDA requirements. So again, we kind of look at the totality of the firm's portfolio, leveraging MDSAP audit reports, pre and post-market data, and their history to whether we waive the inspection, pre or post-approval inspection. So this is an area that we're developing and under consideration to expand for the use of MDSAP within FDA. So there's more to come with this use of MDSAP audits. MDSAP manufacturers are not exempt from BIMO inspections. If the manufacturers conduct clinical studies, they are subject to the requirements under bio-research monitoring. MDSAP audit approach, which is largely based on ISO 13485, does not cover BIMO requirements. So if you are conducting clinical studies, you would expect a BIMO inspection. A compliance follow-up inspection occurs when we have significant violations during the initial inspection. However, from our desk review, it appears that the manufacturer has adequately addressed those issues on paper. So at that point, the FDA will conduct a follow-up inspection to confirm whether the firm has adequately addressed those issues. So that's kind of the normal process for a compliance follow-up. during the pandemic, these type of inspections have also been slowed down, but we have started to leverage recent MDSAP audits to assess the firm's compliance. The MDSAP audit, again, does not alleviate any of the firm's responsibilities and obligations to the FDA, especially if there's any ongoing compliance issues. But the MDSAP audit report does show the FDA that the firm is willing to comply and commit to their corrective actions. So it's, again, a source of intelligence, but it does not completely waive or alleviate them from any ongoing responsibilities or obligations to the FDA. Electronic product radiation control is another type of an FDA requirement for manufacturers that produce radiation emitting products. Manufacturers must comply with certain performance standards and regulations listed on this slide. This is not covered in the MDSAP audit report, similarly to the BioMo requirements. MDSAP audit will not cover any of these requirements. So if you are making radiation emitting products, an FDA inspection for EPRC would occur. So lastly, I've gone through pretty quickly. The MDSAP audits do not cover products regulated by other centers. For example, the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CBER, and the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CDER. So for example, over in CBER, the Biologics Center, they regulate medical devices that collect or process blood and cellular therapies. And over in CDER, we have the Part 4 regulation that deal with combination products. The FDA has not taken MDSAP audits in consideration when reviewing combination products. But there are some dialogue that's ongoing. CBER and CDER are getting more interested in evaluating MDSAP audits, especially with the travel restrictions still going on. So they are starting to look more closely into the value of MDSAP audits. So that's somewhere that we're going to start to develop and hopefully expand a little more. So that concludes my presentation, and please we'll answer your questions at the end of the presentation. And these are the 2 points of contacts: MDSAP at fda.hhs.gov, and also DICE, the Division of Industry and Consumer Education. So these are the 2 groups. If you have any more specific questions to your situation, feel free to email or call the team here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And our next presenter is a collaboration between 2 participants from ANMAT, la doctora Marcela Rizzo, odontóloga de la Universidad de Buenos Aires, maestrando en farmacopolíticas de la Universidad y Salud. Actualmente es la directora nacional del Instituto Nacional de Productos Médicos de ANMAT. Se desempeñó como directora de productos innovadores y no clasificados y como evaluadora en el área de evaluación, registro, habilitaciones y comercio exterior de la Dirección Nacional de Productos Médicos de la ANMAT. La presentación la compartirá la doctora Rizzo con la bioingeniera Carolina Magnati, que estudió bioingeniería en la Universidad Nacional de Entre Ríos. Cuenta con una maestría en Ciencia Reguladora de Productos para la Salud en la Universidad de Buenos Aires y es diplomada en Gestión Integral de la Calidad en la Universidad Tecnológica Nacional. Actualmente, la bioingeniera Magnati se desempeña como evaluadora dentro de la Dirección de Fiscalización y Gestión de Riesgo de Empresas. Durante 4 años se desempeñó como inspectora de empresas fabricantes, importadoras y distribuidoras de productos médicos de la ANMAT. Bienvenidas, muchas gracias. Les cedo el micrófono. Al parecer tienen sus micrófonos cerrados.
Sí, buenos días a todos. Estaba
Hola,
esperando a
buenos
ver
días.
si Marcela se podía conectar. No sé si Marcela estás. Bueno, entonces voy a arrancar yo.
Let me see if Marcela is here too. Let's start here. We'll start with this presentation. Okay. In this presentation, we will show the AMAT as an affiliated member of MDSAP. First, I would like to say that, as mentioned before, the National Administration of Medicines, Food and Medical Technology was created as a regulatory agency and is responsible to registering, controlling, inspecting everything that's related to human health. We have 4 offices and 1,085 agents today.
Caro, ¿querés que siga yo? Porque ahora habíamos tenido un problema técnico.
Carolina, would you like me to continue? I think we have a technical issue here. So hold on a second.
Buenos días a todos. Le pido
There-
disculpas por el retraso, pero tuvimos un
Good
problema
morning again. I'm sorry by the delay. We had a technical
técnico.
issue.
Carolina estaba hablando del ANMAT, los
But let's
indicadores
proceed as Carolina said. She was mentioning our strategic goals, which is to strengthen the MF role as a higher surveillance agent for health, optimize our tools to ensure product safety, streamline evaluation processes for secure access to new products and new technologies, and continue with technology innovation processes, supporting all the projects and from the beginning and the register of them. So next.
Caro, ¿puedes pasarla?
Carol, can you please go to the next slide, please? Carolina.
¿Podrían pasar la número 4?
La estoy pasando yo, Marcela, no sé.
Carolina, can you please
de cómo está la estructura de la
work on
administración.
the slides, please? We are talking about the structure of UNMAT. I can proceed here.
Las transparencias.
No, pero no se ve, no pasa esto.
We have some technical issues. Just hold on.
No demorar más.
Sí, seguimos con la presentación porque tenemos un problema técnico y no podemos.
No pasa nada, sigo yo.
Perdón, es que está congelada la imagen, entonces
¿sí?
no va a poder seguir la conversación.
Entonces un problema mío. Patricia, ¿te molestaría mucho compartir la voz porque quizás se tildó mi conexión a internet?
Patricia, can you share our slides, please? Can you do that, Patricia?
Okay. ¿Esta es tu presentación?
Sí,
Okay.
y estábamos por
Is
la
this
4.
your presentation?
Okay, déjame.
So we're on slide number 4.
Ahora el mío es el que se friseó. Ahí está.
Ahí está.
¿Tú me dices la
siguiente,
anterior?
esta, sí, ahora sí. La anterior.
Here we go.
Perfecto.
Aquí.
Yes,
Perfecto.
that's the one.
Seguimos. Bueno, la ANMAT está constituida por 3 institutos.
So AMAT has 3 institutes: the National Institute of Medicines that controls and monitors the safety, quality, and efficacy of medicines, synthetic and biological medicines, and APIs. We also have the National Food Institute that controls and monitors the safety, quality, and effectiveness of all food-related products. and any other product that are in contact with food. And also the medical device, National Institute of Medical Device that control and monitors the safety, quality, and effectiveness of medical products and in vitro diagnostic products used in human medicine. So in biochemical, biological, and they have a vigilance system. The National Institute of Medicine work with the National Vigilance Institute. Within the National Institute of Medical Products, we have 3 offices. The Evaluation Register of Medical Products, which is responsible for registering them and licensing them. The Office of Inspection and Management of Risk of Medical Products, and the Office of Vigilance, Post-Market Vigilance and Regulatory Actions, which Maria Garcia is responsible to the vigilance aspect of this agency specifically. Within the international scenario, we are a full member of the Scheme of Cooperation for Pharmaceutical Inspections, an observer of the International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceutical for Human Use, full member of the International Program for Pharmaceutical Regulators, and an observer at the International Coalition of the International Regulators of Medicines. Next one, please. Amatis is also part of the OPS and HWO. It's part of the regulatory authorities, regional regulatory authorities. It's part of the work group of regulation of medical devices and the PRF network. As a member of the Mercosur, it participates in the elaboration of different technical regulations, proposing, elaborating, and commenting on topics of interest to the country and the region. AMAT is also part of COPROSAL, which is the Commission for Products, Health Products, and it's part of working subgroups in the pharmaceutical, good practice, the clinical research, cosmetics subcommittee, household cleaning subcommittee, and psychotropics and medical products subcommittees. Since 2012, it's part of the International Forum of Medical Devices Regulators and 3 working groups. The first one, clinical evaluation of medical products, and also in the tailored medical products and the principles of classification of medical products for in vitro diagnosis. Now, Carolina will have the floor to follow the presentation.
Muchas gracias, Marce. Podemos pasar a la próxima, por favor, Patricia. Muchas gracias. Bueno, ahora sí nos abocamos más de lleno a todo lo que tiene que ver con el programa MDSAP.
So, the AMAT, as we have seen in different audits for medical devices, has an idea to tell our journey to be a member of these groups that I mentioned before. How did you get to MDSAP? So we will detail a little bit. We were part of IMDRF, and so that's why we knew about MDSAP. We started to fill in the forms to apply as an affiliate member. And one of the points of the form was a comparison between our regulatory, which is 326613 NAMAT, with the ISO 13485 2016. Another point that was asked is that we have to detail the guidelines that we use with MDRF within our own regulations. So we also had online trainings by MDSAP. So we began to member an affiliate member from January 2020. What do we offer to be part of MDSAP? We have a technical transfer for the countries of the region. So, because we are part of different working groups in the regional scenario, and we recognize the program to our group. So they can also apply as member of MDSAP. As benefits, we found respecting the sovereignty of the regulatory agency, we can decide how to use the results of the audit, but also we can request to the company some requirements because we are a member of the MDSAP. It also allows the optimization of resources. As mentioned before, because other agencies can conduct the audits worldwide. We can also have more trust between sanitary authorities, and we reduce the costs on our human and financial resources. And it can also have a standardized method and reporting, as we said. So the different restrictions are established by the groups, so it's easier to have a standardized, allowing companies that are, in our case, companies that will follow these standards to work with us. So it brings us an update of norms within the program, and an identification and interpretation of the authorities that they are following ISO 13485. And I also like to highlight that they make us think more about the inspection structure.
Carolina, perdón. Una disculpa por la interrupción. ¿Podrías hablar un poco más alto para facilitar el trabajo de los intérpretes?
Carolina, would you mind increasing your volume, please, or just getting your microphone closer to your mouth? Thank you very much. So now we would like to talk about our regulatory landmark. So we conduct inspections in companies that are manufacturers and importers of medical devices. These companies purchase documents and sell it in different regions. So a company in one province sells to a company in another province. In order to qualify as a distributor, the final product has to be purchased and sold as is. Regarding the companies of manufacturers and importers, the inspections are conducted according to the ANMAT disposition 3266. Tiago from Brazil already explained about the resolution in Mercosur. We have that within our countries, and that one establishes the good manufacturing practices of medical devices. So now I would like to go into a little bit into detail about the companies abroad. When an Argentinian company wants to import devices from another company, what we do first is evaluate where the product comes from. If the product comes from a place that has the same standard as we do, we require a free sales certificate from the country of origin. And we as regulatory authority do not conduct an inspection. If an Argentinian company wants to import a product of a Mercosur country, we then conduct according to the resolution of the Mercosur, and we recognize the minutes from both countries. So if a company wants to bring a product from Uruguay to Brazil, we require the documents from the regulatory authorities. If all is compliant, then we can issue a certificate for the Brazilian company or the company from Uruguay, and we might conduct an inspection depending on the information provided. Then we have the case of other countries that do not fit in the previous cases. In those cases, then we conduct an on-site inspection, and then we audit the manufacturing company under the NMAT regulation. Our manufacturing certificates are valid for 2 years. And in the next slide, I will talk a little bit about our context during the pandemic. When we talk about rethinking our inspection structure, we had to find a different way of working because there were travel restrictions, and companies had to find a way to renew their certificates. So when we thought about the answer that we were going to give companies was, we issued a document on the NMAT webpage recognizing the certificate ISO 13485 or the MDSAP certificate, so that the companies could have our certificate of good manufacturing practices. So we require 3 ISO 13485 certificates and 1 MDSAP. Working with MDSAP, we wanted to inform the regulated industry. So we talked with different government bodies, offering them support to the industry to expand the export capacity. So we conducted workshops providing the regulatory landmark, considering the country intended to export to. With that, we wanted to present to the sector the standards that we work with. Now, talking a little bit about the challenges during this year. We wanted to cooperate with the countries interested in participating in the program, promoting the participation in different scenarios of convergence and harmonization in a sustainable and strategic way, and also the participation, continuous participation in MDSAP programs to share our tangible results in the medium and long term. Thank you very much for your time.
Muchas gracias, Carolina, y muchas gracias, Marcela, por su intervención.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Marcela, for your presentation.
La presentación por parte de Besa Bunichi, que nos va a
Well,
platicar
moving on, we will have another presentation conducted by a colleague that will show us the results conducted in MDSAP program. So Visa Vuniki.
Before her current position, Ms. Vunici worked at the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH, at the FDA as an assistant director responsible for pre-market evaluation and post-market activities related to orthopedic devices, and as a compliance officer working on post-market compliance activities for medical devices. In the past 3 years, Ms. Vunici has supported the Medical Device Single Audit Program, MDSAP, by conducting numerous witness and assessment audits in collaboration with other regulatory agencies. In addition, she has over 5 years of experience as an investigator with the FDA and is an ACSQ certified quality auditor. Ms. Vunici received her bachelor's degree in chemistry and biological sciences and a master's degree in biomedical engineering from the Wayne State University. Besa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patty. I appreciate the introductions. Can I just quickly confirm that you can see my slides and you can hear me?
Yes, both.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. And thank you for having me present. Today, I'm currently the International Relations Specialist with the Latin America office, the FDA Latin America office. I'm currently based in DC, but I look forward to relocating to Costa Rica very soon. As Patty mentioned, I've been part-time involved in supporting the MDSAP program since the start of the program. And so today, I will be discussing a little bit the MDSAP affiliate program and the requirements to become a member of the program. So as mentioned before, currently there are 5 participating regulatory authorities which are considered full members of MDSAP. One being the Australia's TGA, Brazil's and ANVISA, Japan's PMDA, Health Canada, and USFDA. And in addition, there are 2 observers, the European Union and the World Health Organization, and they have joined as observers since 2014, and they have participated since in the original IMDRF, MDSAP working groups, and contributed to the fundamentals of the MDSAP documents. As observers, they have also participated in the Iraq meetings and witness audits since the start. And although EU did not become full members due to resource constraints, they are committed to becoming full members of MDSAP. In the case of WHO, they are not regulators, so they will continue to remain as observers to the program. So currently, MDSAP is not accepting additional regulatory authorities as full members or as observers to MDSAP. And there are some good reasons for this. In the past 2 sessions, we had an opportunity to do a deeper dive into the audit model and the requirements of the auditing organizations. And we saw how complex the program can be. And it's not just the challenge of adding the regulatory requirements in the audit model, but then we have to think about the training of the auditors and the assessors and everyone would have to be up to date and trained if there were to be constant changes to the program. This can cause disruptions, and in order to make sure that the program remains successful, MDSAP has realized that at this time, they really need the time to settle and get the stability they need to make sure that the program is sustainable and remains successful. In addition to that, there is consideration also for the auditor organizations, and as the program grows, there's big needs in the auditing organizations in order to support the program. And currently, the auditing organizations are either at various stages of gaining recognition. And so they also need the experience to be able to execute the audits and support the program. But the good news is there's still opportunity for the regulatory authorities to join MDSAP, and that is through the affiliate membership program. And I will give a little bit more details about what that membership entails. So for the reasons I mentioned previously, the regulatory requirements of the affiliate member are not included in the audit model. However, also the reports the MDSAP reports can be obtained directly from the medical device manufacturers. So they can be requested from the medical device manufacturers, but they don't have access to the platforms directly from the MDSAP. There's a lot of benefits to the program. I think Carolina from NMAT describes perfectly about some of the benefits that NMAT have found joining the program. But in general, part of being an affiliate member, there is training that the regulatory authority would go through for MDSAP. There is the ability to utilize MDSAP reports in the jurisdiction. And as part of being an affiliate member, the member gets monthly reports from MDSAP describing some information regarding to specific sites that are being audited. And this will allow for the use of information in decision-making, and through the work sharing and mutual acceptance, it provides the opportunity for more efficient use of regulatory resources that was also explained by my colleagues earlier. Also, there's an opportunity for the future to create a greater alignment and of regulatory approaches globally based on international standards, and enable appropriate global oversight of medical device manufacturers while minimizing resources. In addition to that, on the MDSAP website, once an affiliate member is accepted, they're officially recognized on the MDSAP website. Also, affiliate members are invited to the yearly MDSAP forums, where there is opportunity to engage with other regulatory authorities. There's a lot of information exchange that occurs in those meetings. And so that could also be very valuable for a regulatory authority to participate in those type of meetings. So the specific criteria to join or be considered for an affiliate membership. So in order to be considered for an affiliate membership, an entity needs to be a regulatory authority. And there is specific criteria that was also just explained by ANMAT in the process of how they went through to become a member. And so there needs to be, the regulatory authority has to have laws and regulations in place for evaluating a medical device manufacturer quality management system based on international standards. One example that a lot of regulators are looking into is adapting ISO 13485. And in the first session, Also, Melissa Torres has described the FDA's intention to also transition into ISO 13485 as well. So it's just one example. Also, in addition to that, there needs to be laws and regulations that are still built under, based on international standards that cover other programs such as the pre-market evaluation, post-market surveillance or vigilance, clinical safety performance, and this is really to ensure that a regulatory authority has oversight over the total product life cycle of medical devices. There is also a requirement for the regulatory authority or for the members of the regulatory authority to complete MDSAP trainings, and these trainings are offered online. In addition to that, there's a requirement to clearly describe the benefits of and the objectives of the regulatory authority to become an affiliate member. Also, this is considered a partnership, so there also needs to be a description of how a particular authority would contribute to MDSAP program. In addition to that, also there is a requirement to describe the implementation of the MDSAP documents and guidelines in the organization. So just to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what that form looks like. So this is the first page of the form. As you can see, it has the specific questions and the criteria that I went over. One thing that I really wanted to emphasize here, as also stated in the beginning of the form, is that they are, after joining, after officially becoming a member of, affiliate member of MDSAP, there are requirements for maintaining membership. And as you can see on the form, I know it's really small, but there are reporting requirements that a affiliate member need to report annually about how they utilize the MDSAP reports and or the MDSAP certificates in their organization. So just briefly, in addition to, as you can see in the form, the contact information of regulatory authority, there's a requirement asking whether an entity is regulatory authority, the specific laws and regulations and how they tie to the international standards. The training specifically stating the individuals that have completed the training requirements, the description of the objectives of the benefits for joining as an affiliate member, the contributions to MDSAP, and also the implementation of MDSAP guidelines that I described earlier. So this is how the form looks like. I wanted to note that all this information that I went over today are found in the MDSAP website. And shortly after this presentation, I can also upload the links to the chat so everyone has access to them. Currently, there are 3 MDSAP affiliate members. And Matt just went over about the experience of joining as an affiliate member. And also there's 2 other affiliate members, the Republic of Korea's Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, and also Singapore's Health Sciences Authority, or HSA. And as I noted, all this information can be found on the website. The MDSAP affiliate membership document, it describes the policy and the requirements of joining and also maintaining the affiliate membership. The application form is also on the MDSAP website, and all the documents related to MDSAP can also be found in all, the policy, the requirements on the website, as well as I wanted to note that there's also training that is available on the FDA's website, CDRH Learn, specific to MDSAP as well. This concludes my presentation, and I'm going to hand it over to Patty to facilitate the rest of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vesa. And thanks to all the participants. For the speakers, I would like to ask them if they could please open their cameras when they answer any question. And also, the questions are in 3 different languages, so I guess it would be easier if you could use the headphones and your corresponding language channel to reply. Thank you so much. So we have our first question. It says, how does the MDSAP facilitate the acts to the affiliate members and reports? Anyone wants to take that one?
Sorry, Patty, can you repeat the question?
How the regulators can get access to the reports from the MDSAP?
Sure. So, and I'll start, and maybe others can also chime in as well. So, if as an affiliate member, as I mentioned during the presentation, one way to get the reports is by requesting them directly from the manufacturers. They don't have the direct access from the MDSAP program, but they can request those from the manufacturers. What can also be a good tool, MDSAP does share monthly reports with the affiliate members that include certain information about the site and the audits that are conducted that could also be used either as a verification tool or for the affiliate member to know which facilities are undergoing or undergoing an audit under the MDSAP program.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wants to add something? Okay, so next question. Is there any training program on MDSAP available?
Yes, there is. As a start, I mentioned at the end that on FDA CDRH Learn, there are specific modules and training that are available, and they're made public there. So that's a good resource. And I'll make sure to upload the link to the chat bar very soon.
Okay, thank you so very much. We have another question, I guess all of them are for Vesa, is what are the requirements for affiliation? I guess you already went through them, but perhaps you want to just briefly mention them?
Sure. So I just mentioned, so I just included the link to the training on the chat. So whoever asked that question previously has the link on the chat. And just to answer the question, so I went over the specific requirements to become an affiliate member. As a start, I showed the form to initiate the process, but really part of that process is for a regulatory, one, you have to be a regulatory authority. Two, there needs to be a good description of the how the laws or regulation of that particular authority are in line with international standards for quality management system, as well as the overall. I'm really interested in how that particular regulatory authority has oversight over the total product life cycle of the medical devices. In addition to that, the MDSAP training that I mentioned, it's also the requirement to be able to describe how they're going to utilize why they're joining, what are the benefits of the regulatory authority joining the MDSAP, and how they're going to contribute to the MDSAP program. Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, this is considered a partnership. And so Those are typically the requirements that are required. But again, all of those can be found on the MDSAP website. And I can certainly also upload on the chat the link that I just mentioned, and also the form can be also found there.
Thank you. And we have a last question that says, ¿cuál es el costo y el tiempo de respuesta para el trámite de afiliación a MDSAP?
Patty, was that question for me?
What is the
Yes, again.
I did not get the translation.
Okay, so which is the cost and the time to answer for the affiliation to the MDSAP?
What is the time for an answer for affiliate once the affiliate member applies?
Yeah, is there a cost first? That I don't think there's a cost to do that. And the second one is how long does it take the regulatory authorities committee of the MDSAP to decide on whether they approve or not a submission?
I don't believe there is specific required time, but maybe I'll invite Carolina for NMAT. I'm not sure what their experience was gaining affiliate membership.
Carolina, ¿tendrán algún estimado ustedes? Sebastián.
Carolina, can you answer? Oh, hello. Could you please repeat the question? It's about cost and time to become an affiliate member, right?
Fue un proceso dinámico.
I think it was a very dynamic process. Maybe it took longer. The filling of the form took longer, and to provide the answer to each item. And as Carolina said, this comparison of ISO 13485 took a certain amount of time too, but the answer was received very quickly from the agency. I think they have 2 annual meetings.
Algunos meses, no más de 3 o 4 meses.
They have meetings twice a year, and I wait for 3 to 4 months. And I would like to also to say that, as mentioned before, there's no cost to send or to present as an affiliate member. So I want to make this clear to all the regulatory agencies of the region. Thank you.
Perfecto. Tenemos una siguiente pregunta. Next question.
We have a question.
Again, I guess for Vesa. What does an affiliate member has to do to become a participant or a full member to the MDSAP?
That is a good question, but at this point, as I mentioned, the program is not accepting full members or observers at this time. And I mentioned the reasons why. So that is the current status. Whether that will change in the future, that could be a possibility. But at this point, we don't know when that would happen. But when that happens, I'm sure there will be requirements of what an affiliate member would have to do to become a member.
Ken, do you want to add something to that?
Kenneth, do you want to add anything?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect. So we have...
Pati,
Yes.
a mí me
Dime.
gustaría hacer un comentario adicional también para las demás autoridades.
I would like to add a comment to that.
muy reciente y quizás uno
We
pretende
had a recent experience that might we might see the results soon. So we have to consider that everything is a process and that there are benefits at the beginning that are more linked, so to speak, to international and regional associations. And that allows us to have a dialogue with other agencies and authorities. The tangible results might be expected in the middle and long term. We have to consider also the reality of the scope as well. It's also important to make clear and explain clearly that it's the matter of a product and a scope for the medium and long term. So at the beginning, you will need a lot of patience to understand the scope and also understand the benefits for the different audiences and strategic players involved in all of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment. We have another question.
To the country health authority that is responsible for request the affiliation. Is it clear, the questions for you guys, or should we ask for more details on what they are specifically asking? As I understand, the question is actually the regulatory authority that has the authority on the regulation of medical devices and on the audits, the one that should be responsible to request affiliation. But do you have any other insight, Kenneth or Vesa?
I'm not sure, Kenneth, if you want to jump in, but I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but the actual regulatory authority would have to request to become an affiliate member. And so which part of that regulatory authority or the part of the organization, I think it would have to depend on regulatory authority and its organization. But it really, the request comes from the regulatory authority themselves. So I'm not sure I completely understand the question here, but I hope this clarifies it.
So as I understand the question, I think you're asking, which personnel or which department within your agency could make this request. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback to what Vesa is saying. It comes from the person that makes the executive decisions, very similarly to how ISO 1345 is. So who makes the executive decision or who delegated the decision to that person can make the request.
Very good clarification, Ken.
Okay, thank you. And actually, the person that posed this question says that you answered exactly what she wanted. So thank you. I don't see any other questions. While you formulate your questions and type them, I'm gonna let you know that some of the questions that were posted in the box at the beginning of our webinar were already written by our colleague in Anvisa, so you can see how efficient we are. So they were already responded. And if you have any follow-up questions on those that Tiago already answered, please feel free to put the follow-up question in the Q&A box. So we have another one. It's just a thank you from the last question. Any other question that you have? No more
Patty, do we
questions?
want to go
Yes.
over those questions just for the good of the whole?
Yes.
Got
Yes.
great teamwork, Tiago. Thanks for answering those. But maybe others have similar questions.
Yes. Tiago, would you mind reading your answers to the questions?
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see. First question is if a certification by Anvisa, sorry, a certification by MDSAP can substitute Anvisa inspection to renew the GMP certificate. The answer is yes. The MDSAP audit can substitute an inspection made by Anvisa. The second question in the same, with the same person here, was if the list of documents, if the manufacturer must send the same documents, considering if they are participant of MDSAP or not. And I have answered here that no, there is a specific request for MDSAP participants, and then the list of documents is different. You don't need to send the MDSAP report, considering that we will upload the report from reps. Next question is, are there any differences between the MDSAP authorities about the concept, definition of final product and manufacturer? I answered yes. There is a slightly difference between the definition in each country. If my colleagues would like to jump in, because I have explained here during my presentation the definition of manufacturer and when the manufacturer must submit for GMP certificate. I think that each country has its own legislation, and the definition is a little bit different from Brazil to US and Canada.
Can you want to elaborate a little bit?
Thank you. I could speak a little bit about how FDA CRH, we define a finished product, or a final product is defined as a finished product. So this is written in a regulation 820.3, 21 CFR 820.3. You can look up that definition for a finished product. So any product that is after, whether it's been manufactured, sterilized, and it's ready to be, regardless if it's sterilized, could be used as a function, is defined as a finished device. So if a manufacturer engages in any of those activities, it's considered a manufacturer and you can participate in MDSAP. While like a component manufacturer, if you're just making assembly parts for that finished device, you're not required to participate in MDSAP. There's clear definitions between a finished device manufacturer, a component manufacturer, and also we think about accessories. It gets very complex, but an accessory to a finished device is also considered a medical device manufacturer that could participate in MDSAP.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, Tiago?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of questions here.
That's good.
So, in case of a certification request of a manufacturer that is already certified under RDC 16, but this certification was requested by a different requester, that is Anvisa's process for certifying this site. Is this process harmonized amongst the AOs and amongst the RAs? I'm not sure if I completely understand this question, but I tried to answer here in the chat. The GMP certification in Brazil must be submitted for each importer or requester, but we can use MDSAP report for all of them. MDSAP audits can be performed, including all jurisdictions in the scope, no matter if the manufacturer has already a valid certificate issued by one of the regulatory authorities. In the MDSAP level, it is harmonized by the RAs, but each country has autonomy to use MDSAP outputs according to their needs. Let me try to explain something here, that if a company wants to join MDSAP, this company must include the requirements of a country that they market the products in the scope. It's mandatory. For example, if a company sells the products in Brazil, US, and Canada, they cannot exclude any jurisdiction in the scope. It's mandatory to include all the jurisdictions in the scope where the products are marketed. Okay, I hope this answered the question. Okay, next one is, it is in Spanish here, but I will translate to English. If the low-risk manufacturers must comply with the same requirements of high-risk manufacturers in Brazil. The difference here is that the low-risk manufacturers, they must comply with the requirements, but the certificate, it's not mandatory. For example, if we do an inspection in this investigation inspection in a low-risk manufacturer, we will verify the same requirements, but only the process to request the certification, it's not necessary for the low-risk requirements, for the low-risk manufacturers. Okay. Okay, here we have one more question related with the fee. In Brazil, we have a fee of certification. It's relatively high, the fee. They are asking if, considering we are using MDSAP reports, if we are considering to decrease the fee for GMP certification in Brazil. The answer is, the fee in Brazil is a law, and we cannot change the value of the fee. What we are discussing is to change the expiration date for a manufacturer that is participant of MDSAP. Now, the expiration date of the GMP certificate in Brazil is 2 years. So we are considering to change the expiration date of manufacturers participating in MDSAP to 4 years. So we will indirectly decrease the fee for these manufacturers, but this is under discussion now in Anvisa. So here, one more question. If Anvisa has already access to the reports through reps, why do we need to resend the reports? So now we have different kind of requests. When a manufacturer will send a GMP request for Anvisa, they can choose a specific code for MDSAP. And in these cases, the manufacturer will not, it's not necessary to send the MDSAP report, considering that we will upload them from reps. Okay, we have one more here. In section 2 of MDSAP report, it is requested the facility identification number, and it seems that the meaning of this field is still not standardized. Our company had already sent reports with NA, AFE from license owner or Código Único from the manufacturer. What is Anvisa's recommendation on how to fill it? So last year it was harmonized. Anvisa has created a code for all international manufacturers. We already present this information for the audit organizations during the last forum, and now the correct number is Código Único from Manufacturer. That means unique code from manufacturer. We have created an international number for each facility that market products in Brazil. Last question here is in Spanish again. Our company is a ISO 13485 certificated. A product that is registered in AMAT in Argentina can be automatically registered by Anvisa? The answer is no. The company must request the GMP certificate or the pre-market approval in Brazil, and then we will contact ANMAT to ask for the documents that we need. Okay, so I think I have answered all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There was also another question asking if there are any training available for MDSAP. So Vesa mentioned that in her presentation. Vesa, you wanted to elaborate
Yes,
a little bit on that? Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to specifically show, I included the link on the chat box, so it's available for everyone. But I specifically wanted to show perhaps how you can get there. So once you click on the link I provided, this is the CDRH Learn website. Over in this pull-down menu, there is a global harmonization tab. And if you scroll down, you have MDSAP program, the introductions to the program, and the specific trainings regarding MDSAP. So that's the one I was referring to earlier in my presentation. In addition to that, I included other links. One goes directly into the document, as I described, that explains the affiliate membership rules and responsibilities, the policy, and it goes into the requirements. And also the other link takes you directly to the form that is required to be filled out in order to request to become an affiliate member. So I just wanted to provide a little bit more and show everyone how to get to that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next question is going to be the recording available later on? Yes, the recording is going to be available and it's going to be posted in the coalition website. And we're going to be sending you out the links. Okay. There's another question that says, yes, Sandra.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I just included the link in the chat box. That link will take them to the recording of the first session that it's already available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. All the materials for the 3 sessions are already uploaded there, and we're going to be uploading also the recording in the 3 languages for the 2nd and 3rd sessions.
You see, that's efficiency. Thank you. Okay. Next question is, if only need to obtain the GMP for one country of the 5 involved in the MDSAP program, do I have to comply with all the requirements of the other 4 members too? So can you go first on
sure,
the approach for FDA?
Yeah, I could take this question. So I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be the same across the board for all regulatory authorities. If you're just looking at distributing product in one of the 5 jurisdictions, you don't have to comply with the other 4. But if you plan on selling devices in the other RAs, other jurisdictions, you have to meet those requirements. So let's say you have an initial inspection for only one jurisdiction, let's say just, the US. but later on you decide to expand your market to Brazil or Australia, then a special audit will be conducted by the auditing organization to add the other jurisdiction, add scope to your original MDSAP certificate.
Okay, thank you. Tiago, do you want to answer that?
No, that's a good answer from Ken.
Okay.
I would just add that instead of to carry out a special audit, another option is to wait for the surveillance audit to add the requirements of another jurisdiction.
Okay. And now that you have the mic, the next question is for Anvisa. What are the requirements that an Argentinian manufacturer must comply for medical devices?
So the requirements are the same in Argentina, considering that the RDC 16 in Brazil is harmonized under the Mercosur. So the requirements are the same.
Thank you. Next question, also for Tiago. Is Anvisa thinking to consider the MDSAP certificate instead of GMP certificate?
Not for now. For now, we are only using the reports, but this possibility can be discussed in the future.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for ANMAT, and it says, no sé si entendí bien, pero Carolina mencionaba en su presentación, perdón.
I don't know if understood well, but Carolina mentioned in her presentation that during the pandemic, some companies had presented
E incluso una sometió certificado MDSAP para obtener un certificado de buenas prácticas por ANMAT. Si es así,
that they have a GMP certificate for AMAT. So why someone that is asking would need a AMAT when they already have an ISO at MDSAP that covers everything?
un caso muy específico, no sé si lo quieran contestar aquí o
An AMAT is a very specific case. I don't know if you want to answer here or
Para otra persona y en caso de que quieran una información específica que se
I'll answer here.
Ok, perfecto, gracias.
Para clarificar un poco
In this specific manner, just to clarify a little what we mentioned earlier about the acceptance about the ISO 13485, in a particular situation, which is the pandemic scenario, there are companies that are out of Argentina. And as we mentioned before, we had 3 cases of foreign companies that are in other countries. And in countries that don't have a regulation similar to ours or is not on the Mercosur, that do not comply with the same regulation. So to answer then, during this period, this special period, we accepted the ISO 13485 in order to comply and to issue the certificate. This is due to the pandemic. However, the company must show their documents that require the issue of the certification. And we will evaluate if the information is within the request and if it's enough to issue an AMAT certificate. If it's not clear, we can consult us through email. Thank you. Next question.
In fact, the presentations are already available in the coalition website, and Sandra has just shared the link in the chat box. If you want to take a look at it, you can see all the presentations in the 3 languages posted already. Next question. Tiago, Thank you for answering all the questions. A potential customer for my company is an OEM in Brazil who is requesting quotation to import our component, a sensor, medical device class 1 in the US. We are MDSAP certified, but scope does not include Brazil. Can the customer import our component in Brazil?
So if this product is considered a finished device in Brazil, it will be necessary to do the pre-market approval. Considering that this is a risk class 1 device, the GMP certificate will not be necessary, and then you don't need to include the Brazil in the scope of MDSAP audit.
Thank you. We have no more questions. So with that, I don't see any hands raised. Okay, there's another one. To Anvisa, for countries who have not implemented MDSAP, which are the 3 challenges that interest countries need to know? I guess it's a little bit confusing. Estefania Morales, could you please detail a little bit on your question or elaborate a little bit on your question?
I just would like to clarify that MDSAP is worldwide accepted. All the companies located in all the countries of the world can join MDSAP, the manufacturers. So I think that the main challenge is to know the GMP legislation of the participants and implement in the quality system of the manufacturers, if I understood well.
Yeah, sorry, it was something that I wrote wrong. So yes, we wanted to know that if, for example, another country that is interested to join MDSAP audit program, that the health authorities need to know the 3 main challenges that you as Anvisa pass through the implementation of the MDSAP audit program. Which were your recommendations to health authorities that they have not implemented yet MDSAP?
I think my main recommendation is to learn about the program and to learn about the requirements for each country that you intend to sell your product. So you must implement. I think a good beginning is to have to test your quality system against the ISO 13884 requirements, and then to learn about the specific requirements for each country is participating in MDSAP before you contact the auditing organization to join the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
see Sebastian with his camera. You want to answer or provide more information, more challenges to become an affiliate member?
Gracias, Patti. Creo que desde ANMATI como autoridad regulatoria,
Thank you, Patty.
el desafío de pertenecer al esquema de MDSAP también.
I think we have a challenge of being part of the MDSAP. That implies the trust among regulatory authorities and among this alliance. When we talk about this alliance, we're talking about optimization of processes, and we have to have access to the health protocols. So that is why we emphasize the importance of participating in a sustainable way in these entities and spaces, so that in the future we're able to include more regulatory authorities so that we can apply all these mechanisms. Thank you very much. I don't think we have any more questions. And so I would like to thank all the panelists, all the employees and participants for sending questions. We had the participation of everyone, which was very valuable, and without which we wouldn't be able to do what we did today. Thank you.
Perdón, sí, por favor. So we'd really appreciate your feedback by responding the questions that are being projected. So if you can help us voting on those so we can gain your feedback. Unfortunately, there is no way for us to post like open-ended questions. Therefore, for the ones that are proposing whether you might be interested on holding sessions that would cover additional topics to get more in depth into additional details on ISO 13485 and MDSAP, please send us an email with your proposals. We are committed to go over them and to organize and coordinate in order for us to continue developing capacities among all the stakeholders that are critical to succeed on making medical devices, medical technology, in vitro diagnostics available to the people in our countries. So we are really very appreciative on your responses, on your feedback, on ways for how to improve these sessions, as this is a continuous learning process, continuous improving process. So your feedback through additional emails will be really highly appreciated. So thank you very much for the ones that had already responded. Patty, I don't know if there's any additional comment or from the panelists that would like to share with the audience while we give a couple of seconds more for the audience to respond.
Okay, I don't know if anyone wants to say final comments. Okay, none. But I thank the panelists, and I guess that at this point I should also be thanking all the participants. It's been an enormous pleasure for us as an organizer to really see the interest and the numbers of people that have connected to the webinars, the 3 webinars. We are very mindful that it is difficult to set aside 3 hours per week during 3 continuous weeks to participate in these kind of events, but would really appreciate your participation. And we also, while we end our poll, I guess I could ask Katie Serrano to provide some closing remarks.
Sure, thanks, Patty. And I guess, I will just reiterate what Patty said. I want to, first of all, thank the panelists and the speakers from Anvisa and Amat. I know it's a lot of time to put these presentations together, and we just really appreciate the wisdom and knowledge that you shared with all of the participants by participating. And frankly, it highlights the very close relationship that we have between our agencies that we're very, very grateful for. To everyone on the call, panelists, and as well as the attendees, we really do thank you for all of your attention, for your questions, for the good discussion that we've had over these last 3 weeks. And I guess for the regulators, we really look forward to the very rich discussion that we'll have next week as well. And without further ado, I think thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to either Patty or Sandra to close things out.
Sandra, do you wanna close this with your remarks?
Yes, thank you very much. And well, really, on behalf of the USAID, ANSI, ADVMed, and the Inter-American Coalition for Regulatory Convergence in the Medical Technology Sector, I really just want to join Catherine in thanking all of you for your engagement during this webinar series. We're really expecting for them to have helped advance the capacities development of the diverse stakeholders that, as I mentioned before, do really have an impact as to facilitate patients' access to the required medical technology. A special thank you to all the support team managing the Zoom platform, the interpreters, all the regulators, everybody that was involved in making this a reality. As Patty mentioned, this is a huge effort at both ends. It is really a huge effort from all the attendees making the time to attend and to develop and invest in themselves in developing capacities, but also really the commitment from the regulators to help all of us to continue growing our knowledge and helping each other in this road through getting into an ideal state of convergence. So really, thank you very much. Wish we meet you all again in future events. Remember, we are available to continue supporting you. Let us know, you have our contact information. Let us know what other areas you might be interested in us focusing our training efforts. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and thank you very much.
Muchas
Muchas
gracias.
gracias.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Obrigada.